Hello friends, Chris here with ISK Recording. Today we're going to talk about what sound is. I've got my fancy prop here. It's a pop bottle. Alright, sound. What it is, it's basically like rapid changes in air pressure. We think about it as waves, but it's waves of air pressure that are changing. See, if I take this pop bottle, you might be wondering, why am I holding a pop bottle in my hand? If I take this pop bottle and I squeeze it, I created an air pressure change inside the pop bottle, right? The air becomes pressurized in here because the lid is on. If the lid was off, then the air would just come out. But if I squeeze it with the lid on, the air inside this pop bottle becomes pressurized. But for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Not only does the air inside this pop bottle get pressurized, but briefly, the air inside the room gets depressurized to make up for that. See, air is like a sponge. It can compress and it can decompress. And what happens when it does that quickly is it moves the little hairs inside of our ears, and our brains pick that up as a sound wave and interpret it into what we hear. Now, if I were to take this pop bottle and squeeze it really, really quickly, and I can't even squeeze it that quickly, but let's say I squeezed it 100 times in and out every second. Well, what that would do is it would actually produce a note of 100 hertz. Now, if I were to change this into a mechanical device that could get bigger and smaller 100 times per second, we would have what's called a speaker. Because that's exactly what a speaker does. Within an enclosure, a speaker moves in and out rapidly at whatever frequency the note is that it's playing. And what that does is it compresses and decompresses the air inside the room, and it moves around the room in the form of a wave. But low frequency waves and high frequency waves move a little bit differently, because high frequency waves are much shorter, so they can hit a wall and bounce off of it and bounce around and scatter. Whereas low frequency waves, think about them more like the example I just gave you of changes in air pressure. See, they don't necessarily hit things and bounce off of them. Low frequency waves, more like they wrap around objects. And within a recording studio, it's generally the low frequencies that are troublesome and that we need to tame with room acoustics. So if you have a door open or a window open, or if you're in a larger room that's open to the rest of the house, what happens is those low frequencies have a larger area to disperse in, and they can diffuse without causing standing waves and comb filtering. Now, sound isn't just one note at a time, though. You see, if I sing a note, let's say a middle A, and I can't sing a middle A, sorry, but a middle A is 440 hertz. Okay, so if I played an A on the piano, dong, whatever, the fundamental frequency of that is 440 hertz. But why does an A on a piano sound different than an A on a violin? Or why does an A, if I sing it, sound different than an A if somebody else sings it? It's the same note, it's the same frequency of vibrations, and the reason for that is what's called harmonics. There's not just one note playing, there's not just one frequency of waves happening at one given time. There's dozens or hundreds or even thousands of individual frequencies all being sounded at the same time. And that combination of all those tiny little individual frequencies together is what creates the tone of any particular sound. So to give you an example of this, I've got a short little recording I have of a human voice singing, and I'm going to show you how there's sound from all the different frequency areas. So let's start with hearing the full sound.
I want to love you, for I want.
Okay, so if I take this EQ and we only hear what's happening from 100 hertz to 200 hertz, let's see how that sounds. See, the notes that she's singing, I think the fundamental frequency is somewhere between 200 and 500 hertz. So all we're getting is some of the lower frequency rumbles. You can still kind of make out, though, what she's singing. Because even below the fundamental frequency, there's still sound waves that are happening there. And if I go between 2 and 500, so I'm pretty sure the fundamental is somewhere in there. So we'll hear the fundamental, but we're still going to hear other frequencies at the same time. See, there's not really a lot of tone there, but the main note is there. And if we listen to just 500 to 1,000 hertz, and now 1,000 to 2,000, let's go 2,000 to 5,000. And 5,000 to 10,000. And 10,000 to 20,000. I'm going to boost this a little higher. So as you can tell from this girl's voice, there's actually sounds being emitted at lots of different frequencies throughout the entire spectrum of human hearing. And human hearing is considered to be from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, although most adults can only hear up to roughly 15 kilohertz. So now you might be thinking, well, if sound is created from a speaker that moves in and out really quickly, how does that speaker create all these different tones? How does it do thousands of different frequencies all at the same time? And I find it quite astonishing that the speaker does, in fact, do that. You see, for a fundamental frequency, let's just say I could probably move my hand in and out at roughly 20 hertz or whatever, 10 hertz, I don't know. Okay, but just to emulate what the speaker is doing, let's say that's a bass frequency note. And if it's playing that note at the same time as a higher frequency, the speaker will be doing a motion more like this. It'll contain both frequencies at the same time. And it'll have little ones within there too. And so like that, a speaker can contain lots of different sounds in the motion that it makes. If we zoom into the waveform of recorded audio, we can take a look at what the speaker is trying to do. Here's the recording that we hear. And I'm just zooming way in, way in, way in, way in. The playhead there. So this is just a random spot of the recording. As the playhead moves along, it's telling the speaker to follow this movement. See, as it goes down, the speaker is going in. And as this waveform goes up, the speaker pushes out. And so as this playhead moves along, the speaker is replicating this movement. So now you know what sound is and what it is in the air, but your next question might be, well, how does sound flow as electricity? And I'm going to answer that in the next video. If you like this video, please do me a huge favor. High five that like button down there. Go have an awesome day and make some great music.